So there are quite a few times when people wonder, now, which thing is the best thing to use? And right now, that debate is between Xorg and Wayland. So I know some people are like, well, Wayland is too buggy, and so therefore I'm not using it yet because of that reason. But I've tried this compositor and that compositor and the other. And then other people are like, well, Wayland is really secure and it's better and it's smoother and does this, that, and the other. And yeah, I've kind of been like in this seat and back and forth between X and Wayland for like a while now. And I'm still not sure because I still switch between the two depending on what I'm doing. So currently, for the most part, I spend a lot of my time in River. When I'm streaming, I switch over to Awesome, particularly when I need to have the ability to like grab individual windows, like emulator windows, rather than just a whole output. And there are a couple of reasons for that. So one, compositors don't currently have the interface with OBS to let you grab individual windows. That's only a GNOME thing. Whereas X still lets me do that in OBS. But on the other hand, if I try and get a full output capture screencast, I end up getting like OBS recording it or streaming it at 15 frames a second, whereas I can get full 60 or whatever 40 just fine in Wayland, whatever compositor I happen to be using. And it's just really weird. And obviously my setup isn't the best for some of it, being as I'm using an NVIDIA graphics card as my like DGPU. And then I've, of course, got the Intel as the iGPU. I haven't tried AMD, but I hear that's the better experience for Wayland. And why some people have switched over fully and completely, whereas others haven't. So there are a couple other quirks that I noticed too as I've been working with it. Is I get it to run just fine. But then there are some things that just like it's weird. So like let's say for example I want to play a game and watch a YouTube video at the same time. I can do that just fine. It'll be pretty smooth on Wayland. Versus X, I may run into issues with like the video like dropping quality because for whatever reason, even though I should reasonably be able to, it's got this thing where like the video it feels like I'm trying to process the video and the graphics at the same time when that really shouldn't be the case, as hard as it seems to think it is, and it might be an Xorg thing as to why it's doing that. But then you've also got the thing where I'm playing full screen games in X and then it drops to like 20 FPS, which on this system has kind of been the thing that's happened, whereas on the older system, I didn't seem to really have that problem. Like, I'd be paying attention to that stuff, and like, for some reason, a GTX 1080 runs a bit better than the 3050. But it could be that I went for the RTX graphics card that was the lower end in the 30 series versus the 1080 before, which was kind of like the upper in the 10 series. However that works out, but still, like, NVIDIA had its like little issues here and there. And NVIDIA's kind of improved some things for Wayland as I've watched the updates and so on come out that have kind of helped it to become better, but I'm still running into those issues where it seems like it might be an NVIDIA thing versus like just a Wayland thing. So there are some performance dips that I noticed that like sometimes it even seems like the Steam Deck performs better than the 3050 at times. And that may be due to a driver issue. Because I've looked at people that have played like different things on Steam Deck or what have you, and it's like, wow, this is performing better on this thing versus on my system, which should feasibly have a more powerful graphics card. One example is have been messing around with Yuzu and getting Tears of the Kingdom running, and when I try and run OpenGL and the shaders there, it doesn't run as well. Of course, I go to Vulkan and it's a little bit more performant, but I still have like chugs here and there, and then it crashes. Whereas I haven't quite tried it on my Steam Deck yet, but I need to set everything up to do that. It sounds like it performs pretty well on Steam Deck, and of course Steam Deck has AMD graphics. And everybody's like, if you're running Linux, you should run AMD. And I really think, in hindsight, that's what I should have picked for my next setup. I could have just installed the driver package and I would have been fine. But no, I had to, do it the hard way, and here I am. But I still get pretty decent performance out of it. So like I can play Kenshi and Wayland and have it run smooth and have my YouTube video off on the side and be just fine. Xorg, Kenshi will lag out a little bit, and then the YouTube video lags out a little bit, and it turns into a whole dumpster fire. And again, X is for sure more mature and has like less bugs to it, yet at the same time I feel like it's not quite as optimized in some ways. Whereas Wayland is the new thing, and it promises this new level of security, but yet it doesn't have all the features that I am looking for. I know some people like Brody are just fine like with Wayland because it works for the application that he's using it for. Whereas if I were to like try and run my emulators on it the way that I do, then I would have to do a lot of cropping for my outputs and things like that. And I really don't feel like doing that. So the debate for me, like Wayland or Xorg, is kind of like somewhere in between. Even still, because there are certain things that I'll do on Xorg or Wayland, and they kind of seem to be hitting like parity somewhat, but it could be something with my applications. So like, let's say, for example, I've got ungoogled Chromium installed. And X, whenever I'd have like one Chromium window open on one workspace and one on a different one, or I'd be switching between the two, one would freeze up and then like get this like cool, nice, pretty color thing going on when I switch between the two, because for whatever reason, Electron apps, including Steam, will freeze up graphically in Xorg. Or in Awesome. Might be just an Awesome thing, but whatever it is, it would just freeze up. And then I'd have to kill the application and then bring it back up again. Whereas on Wayland for quite a while, I could like run everything just fine. And now it's getting to the point where sometimes even some of my windows will freeze up and I have to wait a second for it to unfreeze. And it could be that it's an X-Wayland thing, but I thought for sure it automatically detected that it needed to run in Wayland mode. But I could be wrong. And those are kind of some of the interesting things that I've run into, is like, it seems like, oh yeah, Wayland has been doing a lot better for these things that I do, and then slowly over time, it's kind of like brought in some of those same things, where it's possible it could be just the compositor, it could be just the window manager, but I don't know. It's just like, okay, in the end, it seems like they'll both have the same bugs overall, and everyone's going to run into a different issue. So you have to find what works for you, for your application, and sometimes you're going to be switching between the two. So, I mean, that's my whole debate. Figure out what works. Oh, and then on top of that, some applications won't support Wayland for certain things. So like Yuzu with my issue, I was trying to offload the graphics onto my NVIDIA card for Tears of the Kingdom, and it runs just fine under X, but for some reason it crashes under Wayland. When I'm running Vulkan, try and offload to the graphics card, it's like, oh, that's because Wayland is still really buggy. So if you want to play it, figure something else out, compile it as like yourself, or, oh, just switch over to X. So you're going to run into that issue where Wayland, still very early, still somewhat unstable. So, yeah. Some people may not want to support it. And you still kind of, you see that in a lot of older projects. So, if you enjoyed the video, then like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm, boost the video up, share this video with your friends. If you found it informative or you just want to chat, I've got plenty of places in the description, Discord, Guilded, and what have you. Check those out, and I will see you guys in the next one.